Hi everyone, this is Dr. Charles E. Clough from the Church of Truth, Center Awakening Consciousness, wanting to share some things that are just maybe a different way of looking at something. The title today is Attraction, and let me start with our normal prayer. Gracious God, please leapfrog over the distances so those listening hear this as if we are all together in our peaceful sanctuary. It is interesting to sit down and take a look at what we give attention to. We will give our attention to something. Most of us don't go into neutral when there's absolutely nothing in our minds. It is not uncommon for a wife to look over at her husband and ask him what he's thinking about, and for him to respond, "Oh, nothing." Actually, what was going on in his mind was not worth sharing. The value of it was really nothing. If everything is relaxed and easy, what we give our attention to is just a matter of what has captured our interest at the time. On the other hand, there are things that capture our attention, whether we want them to or not. One area where we seem to have no decision to make, whether it captures our attention or not, is our material bodies. When in college, I tried to pick up the front end of a Volkswagen by myself. I felt something tear in my back. I ignored the pain and it gradually subsided. Then during the next few years, it made itself known over and over again. The late 20s and early 30s started the chiropractic thing. When almost unable to move, an older gentleman who had been in practice for a long time could pop my back into place, and it would be okay until the next time. The final straw was when I was riding my son's motorcycle. When getting back to the house, I couldn't get off. My back was locked up. A doctor friend told me I would probably need to have surgery, but before that to go to a physical therapist he knew in town. For years after the injury, I had been walking and sitting wrongly while protecting my back. It didn't take but a few minutes for the physical therapist to tell me that I was doing everything wrong. He outlined exercises that slowly helped move my back into the position it was before I tried to lift the car. I have not had back problems for years. The point is that when my back was hurting and not normal, it captured a lot of my attention. The body can affect our concentration, our prayer, meditation, and our natural ability to enjoy nature or really anything when hurting. But it is not just the body that can demand attention. It is also our emotions and our thoughts. The whole field of mental health speaks of all the issues we let get to us related to what we feel and what we think. So, it is what gets our attention that controls us, ourselves, or something else. It is a no-brainer to say that what should get our attention is that which would make our lives the best. So what would make our physical, emotional, and spiritual lives the best quality? Another no-brainer statement would be to say that whatever it is that makes us feel physically, materially, emotionally, and spiritually the best is what we would want to concentrate on and focus on. That would somehow be connected to taking care of the body by exercising and eating properly while watching, controlling, and directing what we are thinking. that straight on affects how we are feeling. It is important to keep in mind these aspects of our lives are going to get attention one way or another. We can give focus to being well while we are still well, or we can give attention to trying to get well because we are ill. Either way gets our attention. What we have to do to feel and keep feeling good, and or what we have to do to get to feeling good when we aren't. They're both going to take up time and energy. We always have the choice to actively make things better for ourselves, or to let the chips fall where they may, meaning to allow events to happen without trying to change them. According to the dictionary, this phase is usually used to suggest that one is willing to accept a result, whatever it may be. In New Thought, we are attuned with how important our own choosing is to what is going on inside and outside of us. We believe we have a lot to do with how things are. To us, our choices have to do with listening to the God Spirit presence within. This inner God guidance knows what is best for us, so we give it our attention. The coronavirus is allowing most of us time to take a good look at ourselves and our situations. This is a good thing. No matter what our circumstances, there is a best right now thing to do and be. Isn't that a positive and stimulating thought? That there is a best thing to do and that we can do it? These are good things to ask ourselves while shutting up during this COVID-19 thing. What is the best right thing for us right now? There's no general answer, unfortunately. It is an individual thing, as there are so many possibilities. No matter what situation or condition we find ourselves in physically, mentally, or spiritually, there is a best way to handle it, a best way to deal with it. There is a way that works for us at the point in which we are, at the time in which we are. What will better us and aid us in maintaining each of these areas that are such important aspects of our living? We are always in the middle of being the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual selves we are. We are helping define what that looks like. What we do with those things is what it looks like in our everyday lives. We can set up an exercise regimen for ourselves, but if you are like many, if it's not planned, it probably won't happen. We have to imagine how we would feel after we do it, not how we feel before we do it. Staying in good physical condition is hard. I don't know many who love making themselves do hard, but we have to if we're going to stay in shape. The same relates to our spiritual condition. If you are like I have been at times, spiritual practice can be energetically and emotionally too much like work. Sometimes we just don't feel like doing the God thing. Often a break, even in God's stuff, is invited and refreshing. But when it becomes the new pattern, it has become our habit to where we don't give attention to the spiritual at all anymore. Just like exercise, we know we need it and eventually want to do it, but don't. But isn't that part of the responsibility of our deeper spiritual selves and our invisible spiritual friends to help us at this point, to give us a boot. Our part, though, is to acknowledge our loss of spiritual interest by talking it over with God, not to hide, ignore, or pretend our disinterest is not there. It is a little intimidating to realize God never takes focused attentions away from us. I can think of a time or two, and I'm sure you can too, being at an event and catching somebody watching you. Of all the things this person has to do to catch their attention, they're looking at you and watching you. In our minds, we scrutinize how we look, what we might have said or done, who this person is to us, and more. Now, when we see this as a metaphor of how God watches us, God's watching seems really extreme. God doesn't miss anything, not a thing, nope. Why is God's continued attention not only not a bad thing, but a very good thing? God is totally accepting. Nothing we do or our being surprises God. Everything God sees, he or she has seen in us and with us over and over again. God's attention is never on the negative issues we are. Things we're still working on have God's approval. God's attention is always on what will make our lives better. This is why when we take the time to contemplate and evaluate during our virus hiatus, the Spirit within wants to use this time to the best of our advantage. How much we want to help God's presence within us do that. When this is over, many of us will be thanking God for the good that grew from the soil of COVID-19. Growth and probably advancements that will be made would never have taken place any other way. The goodness of God will be very evident as to this period of history as it continues to unfold, and as we see the personal applications of these things to our individual lives. How much we want to keep wide open to God so we continue to allow God to do everything he wants to do, which will all be for our very best. And so it is.
You're there inside of me. I feel you in my heart, though it's just a tiny part. And when I finally see, in a moment I am sure of what I never knew before. I need to remind myself we all could use some extra help. There's a little bit of you in me, a treasure deep in every sea, a breath of life in every tree, in each leaf a mystery. There's a little bit of you in me. Somewhere in the darkest night, a light is shining through, and it's coming straight from you. You're clear and constant light in a universe so wide. It's coming from inside, and when I close my eyes I see the perfect gift you gave to me. There's a little bit of you in me, a treasure deep in every seed. A breath of life in every tree, in each leaf a mystery. There's a little bit of you in me. There's a little voice I hear in the back of my mind. You surprise me sometimes, and you make it all so clear, but it slips away. How can I make you stay? Oh, you got to stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. When I close my eyes, I see the perfect gift you gave to me. There's a little bit of you in me, a treasure deep in every sea. A breath of life in every tree, in each leaf a mystery. There's a little bit of you in me. A flower waits in every seed.